The desperate call, the blue star of Kepler, shone weakly through the thick smoke that covered planet Nera. Captain Rex stood on the bridge of the alien ship Hope's End, watching his world burn below. The Neran people had fought for 3 months against the Vex Empire, but their small fleet was almost gone. "Captain, we're getting reports from the surface," said his officer Tom. "The cities of New Harbor and Crystal Bay have fallen. The Vex are moving toward our last stronghold." Rex closed his 4 eyes and felt his heart sink. The Neran race had always been peaceful. They traded goods across the galaxy and helped other species with medicine and food. They never expected that the Vex Empire would want their planet for its rare crystals. "Sir, incoming message from High Command," announced Lisa, the communications officer. "Put it through," Rex said. The hologram of Admiral Blue appeared on the bridge. The old Neran looked tired and beaten. "Rex, we've sent the distress signal to all known friendly species. The Federation, the Galactic Alliance, even the Trade Union. We're asking for immediate help." "Any responses, sir?" Rex asked, though he already knew the answer. "The Federation says they're considering our request. The Alliance is dealing with their own border conflicts. The Trade Union, well, they don't want to anger the Vex." Admiral Blue's voice was heavy with disappointment. "We're on our own, Captain." Rex looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, civilized species were having meetings and debates while his people died. The Vex Empire had already destroyed 12 planets this year. Everyone knew they were cruel and violent, but no one wanted to fight them. "Wait," Lisa called out suddenly. "I'm getting something on the emergency channel. It's not from any known species." "Put it on speaker," Rex ordered. A rough, strange voice filled the bridge. The universal translator worked, but the accent was unlike anything they had heard before. "This is Admiral Smith of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. Help is coming. Hold your position." The bridge fell silent. Rex had never heard of Earth or humans before. "Lisa, do we have any data on this Earth?" She worked quickly at her station. "Nothing in our databases, sir. No trade records, no diplomatic contact, nothing. They're completely unknown." Tom stepped forward. "Could it be a trick? Maybe the Vex are trying to give us false hope?" "No," Rex said slowly. "The Vex don't waste time with tricks. When they want to break our spirit, they just kill more of our people." Admiral Blue's image flickered. "Rex, I'm getting the same message here. Whoever these humans are, they're the only ones who responded to our call." On the planet below, explosions lit up the night sky. The Vex were bombing civilian areas again. Rex gripped the rail of his command platform. His people were dying while unknown aliens made promises they might not keep. "Sir," Lisa said, checking her instruments, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our system. Something big is coming out of hyperspace." Rex felt a strange mix of hope and fear. What if these humans were just like the Vex? What if they came to claim Nera for themselves? But what choice did his people have? "All ships, this is Captain Rex. Prepare for unknown contact. We don't know if they're friends or enemies, but they're our only chance." The space around Nera had been empty except for the few remaining Neran ships and the large Vex fleet attacking the planet. Now something was coming. The energy readings were growing stronger by the minute. Rex thought about his family on the planet below. His wife and 2 children were in the underground shelters of the capital city. The Vex would reach them within days if nothing changed. "Captain," Tom said quietly, "what do we know about these humans?" "Nothing," Rex replied. "But they answered our call when no one else would. That has to count for something." As they waited, Rex wondered what kind of species would rush to help strangers across the galaxy. The civilized races all had their reasons for staying away. Trade agreements, political concerns, fear of the Vex Empire's power. But these humans had simply said, "Help is coming." The bridge crew worked in tense silence, monitoring the approaching signatures. Whatever was about to happen would decide the fate of the Neran people. Rex just hoped that his faith in unknown aliens would not be the mistake that doomed his entire race. The stars seemed to hold their breath as Earth's fleet prepared to emerge from hyperspace. The arrival, The space around planet Nera suddenly filled with light as dozens of ships dropped out of hyperspace. Captain Rex stared at his screens in shock. The human fleet was massive, bigger than anything he had ever seen. "By the stars," whispered Tom. "How many ships is that?" Lisa worked frantically at her station. "I count over 200 vessels, sir, and these readings, Captain, some of these ships are enormous. That one there is 3 times the size of our largest battleship." Rex watched as the human fleet moved into formation. Their ships looked different from anything in the galaxy. They were dark, angular, and covered in weapons. No smooth curves or bright colors like most civilized races used. These ships were built for one purpose: war. "Incoming transmission," Lisa announced. The image of a human appeared on the main screen. Rex was surprised by how similar they looked to his own people, except for having only 2 eyes and strange pale skin. The human wore a dark uniform with metal symbols on it. "This is Admiral Smith of the Earth Defense Fleet. Neron vessels, please. Identify your command ship." Rex stepped forward. "This is Captain Rex of the Hope's End. I'm in charge of what's left of our fleet." Admiral Smith nodded. "Captain Rex, we received your distress signal. We're here to help. Please provide tactical information about the enemy forces." "Admiral, we appreciate your response, but you should know what you're facing. The Vex Empire has over 300 warships in this system. They've conquered 12 worlds this year. Their technology is advanced and their warriors are ruthless." The human admiral smiled, and Rex found it somehow frightening. "Captain, we've dealt with bullies before. Please pull your ships back to a safe distance. We'll handle the Vex." Before Rex could respond, alarms started ringing across his bridge. "Captain," Tom shouted, "the Vex fleet is moving. They're heading straight for the human ships." On the tactical display, Rex watched as the massive Vex fleet turned away from planet Nera. 300 dark ships moved toward the human formation like a black wave of death. "Admiral Smith," Rex called urgently. "The Vex are attacking. You need to prepare for—" "We see them, Captain," the human replied calmly. "All Neron ships move to minimum safe distance. This might get loud." Rex wanted to argue, but something in the human's voice made him obey. "All ships, pull back to grid 77. Emergency speed." As the Neron fleet retreated, Rex kept his eyes on the approaching battle. The Vex ships were firing their main weapons now. Bright beams of energy lanced across space toward the human fleet. But something strange happened. The humans didn't try to dodge. They didn't even raise shields. They just kept moving forward in perfect formation as the Vex weapons hit their ships. "Lisa, are you reading damage to the human fleet?" Rex asked. She checked her instruments twice. "No, sir. No damage at all. Their armor—" "It's like the Vex. Weapons can't even scratch them." Now the human ships opened fire. Rex had seen many space battles, but nothing like this. The humans didn't use energy beams or plasma cannons like most species. They used something else. Solid projectiles that moved so fast they were almost invisible. The first Vex ship to be hit simply exploded. One moment it was there, the next it was a cloud of debris. Then another exploded and another. "This is impossible," Tom breathed. "The Vex have the strongest armor in the galaxy." But the humans kept firing, and the Vex kept dying. The proud warships of the Vex Empire, ships that had terrorized a dozen worlds, were being destroyed like they were made of paper. Rex realized that the humans weren't just winning. They were barely trying. Their ships moved with calm precision, picking off Vex vessels one by one. There was no panic, no desperate maneuvers. It was like watching adults deal with troublesome children. "Admiral," Rex called to the human commander. "How is this possible? The Vex have conquered half the outer rim." Admiral Smith's image turned to him. "Captain, let me ask you something. How many wars has your species fought?" "Wars? We are a peaceful people. We haven't had a real war in over 300 years. And the other species who ignored your call for help?" Rex thought about it. "The Federation has been at peace for 2 centuries. The Alliance avoids major conflicts. Most civilized species try to solve problems through diplomacy." The human admiral nodded slowly. "Captain, humans have been fighting wars for our entire history. We've never stopped. When we reached the stars, we brought that experience with us. Rex watched as another group of Vex ships exploded under human fire. You mean, you're warriors by nature? No, Captain, we're much worse than that. We're survivors. The demonstration Captain Rex watched in horror and amazement as the human fleet tore through the Vex forces. In just 30 minutes, over 100 Vex warships had been destroyed. The rest of the enemy fleet was trying to retreat, but the humans weren't letting them escape. Captain, Lisa said, her voice shaking, the Vex are sending a surrender signal. Rex looked at Admiral Smith's image on the screen. Admiral, they're trying to surrender. The human's face showed no emotion. Tell them to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that tries to run will be destroyed. Within minutes, the entire Vex fleet had stopped fighting. Their black ships floated helplessly in space as human vessels surrounded them. Rex had never seen the mighty Vex Empire surrender to anyone. Admiral Smith, Rex called. What happens now? Will you take prisoners? Some of them, the human replied. But first, we need to send a message. Rex didn't understand. A message? To whom? To every species in this galaxy that thinks conquest and murder are acceptable. Admiral Smith turned to someone off-screen. Target the Vex command ship, full power. Wait, Rex shouted. They surrendered. You can't just... But the humans fired anyway. The massive Vex command ship, the one that had led the attack on Nira, vanished in a ball of fire. The explosion was so bright that Rex had to shield his eyes. Why did you do that? Rex asked, shocked by the cold execution. Admiral Smith's expression was hard as stone. Captain, how many civilians did the Vex kill on your planet? Rex felt his heart sink. Over 2 million in the past 3 months. And how many other worlds have they destroyed? 12 that we know of. Then they got off easy. 1 ship for millions of lives. The human admiral paused. Captain Rex, your people seem to think that civilization means being weak, that talking is always better than fighting. But what good are your peaceful ways when monsters like the Vex show up? Rex had no answer. His people had tried diplomacy with the Vex. They had offered to share their crystal mines, to pay tribute, anything to avoid war. The Vex had laughed and kept killing. Sir, Tom interrupted, we're getting signals from the planet. The Vex ground forces are requesting orders from their fleet. Admiral Smith heard this. Captain Rex, how many Vex soldiers are on your planet? Our last count was around 50,000. The human nodded. We'll take care of them too. But I want your people to see something first. On the main screen, the image changed to show one of the human ships moving toward planet Nira. It was smaller than their battleships, but still massive. That's a troop transport, Admiral Smith explained. It carries 10,000 human soldiers and their equipment. Rex felt confused. 10,000, but Admiral, there are 50,000 Vex on the surface. Your soldiers will be outnumbered 5 to 1. For the first time, the human smiled, and it made Rex's blood freeze. Captain, you still don't understand what humans are. The transport ship entered Nira's atmosphere and disappeared from view. Rex switched his screens to monitor the planet's surface. Within an hour, reports started coming in from the underground shelters. Captain, Lisa called out excitedly, the Vex ground forces are retreating. They're falling back from all positions. How is that possible? Rex asked. The humans just landed. They haven't had time to... His question was answered by more reports, flooding in. The human soldiers weren't just fighting the Vex, they were hunting them. Small teams of humans were moving through the ruins of Niran cities, finding and destroying Vex positions with frightening efficiency. Sir, the human soldiers are using tactics we've never seen, Tom reported. They're coordinating with their ships in orbit using something called close air support. They're also fighting at night in the dark. The Vex can't keep up. Rex realized something terrible and wonderful at the same time. They're not just soldiers, they're predators. Admiral Smith's voice came through the speakers. Captain Rex, we've been fighting wars on our own planet for thousands of years. We've learned to fight in every environment. Day, night, underwater, in space, on ice worlds and burning deserts. We fought enemies who were stronger, faster, and smarter than us. Do you know how we survived? How? Rex whispered. We became the thing that other species have nightmares about. We became the monsters that hunt the monsters. On the surface of Nira, the last Vex stronghold sent out a surrender signal. In less than 6 hours, 50,000 Vex soldiers had been defeated by 10,000 humans. Rex looked at his crew and saw his own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had called for help, expecting to be saved by another peaceful species like themselves. Instead, they had summoned something from the darkness between stars, something that made the Vex Empire look like children playing with toys. The galaxy is about to change, Rex said quietly. The Reckoning, 7 to 70 words. 3 days after the battle, Captain Rex stood in the ruins of New Harbor City on planet Nira. The human soldiers had cleared out the last of the Vex forces, and now, the real work began. Rex watched as human engineers worked alongside his people to rebuild what had been destroyed, but what amazed him most was how different the humans were when they weren't fighting. The same soldiers who had terrified the Vex were now helping Niran children find their families, and bringing medical supplies to the wounded. Captain Rex, a voice called behind him. He turned to see Admiral Smith walking through the rubble. The human leader looked tired but determined. Admiral, I wanted to thank you, Rex began, but Smith held up a hand. Don't thank me yet, Captain. We need to talk about what happens next. They walked to a quiet area where they could speak privately. Admiral Smith looked up at the sky where the human fleet still orbited the planet. Captain, your people called for help and we came, but now the galaxy knows that humans exist. That changes everything. Rex felt a chill of worry. What do you mean? I mean that within a few weeks, every major power in the galaxy will know what happened here. They'll know that a species they've never heard of destroyed the Vex fleet in less than an hour. They're going to want to know who we are and what we want. The human admiral paused, watching as his soldiers helped rebuild a hospital. Captain, we've been watching the galaxy for 50 years. We've seen species like yours call for help and get ignored. We've watched the Vex and others like them destroy entire civilizations while the civilized species held meetings and debates. So you decided to intervene? We decided to be ready. Humans have a saying. If you want peace, prepare for war. We've been preparing. Rex thought about this. Admiral, how many ships does Earth have? Smith smiled grimly. What you saw here was one small battle group. We have hundreds of others scattered across the galaxy, watching and waiting. The revelation hit Rex like a physical blow. You've been here all along. We've been everywhere, Captain. Watching the Federation ignore cries for help. Watching the Alliance worry more about trade routes than justice. Watching peaceful species, like yours, get slaughtered while their neighbors looked the other way. Rex felt ashamed, though he wasn't sure why. What do you want from us? Nothing, Smith said simply. We didn't come here for profit or territory. We came because it was the right thing to do. But surely you want something in return? Admiral Smith looked at him seriously. Captain, let me tell you about humans. We're not like the other species. In this galaxy, we don't conquer for resources or land. We fight for ideas, justice, freedom, the right of people to live without fear. Rex struggled to understand. But that's what we all believe in. No, Captain. You believe in those things, but you won't fight for them. There's a difference. As they talked, a communication officer approached. Admiral, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. The Federation wants to open diplomatic relations. The Alliance is requesting a meeting. Even the trade union is asking about establishing contact. Smith nodded. And the Vex Empire? They're requesting a ceasefire, sir. They want to negotiate. Rex was amazed. The Vex never negotiate. They only understand strength. Exactly, Smith replied. Now they understand that there's something stronger than them in the galaxy. The Admiral turned to Rex. Captain, I have a question for you. Your people were dying, and all your allies abandoned you. But we came to help. What does that tell you? Rex thought carefully. That humans are different from the rest of us. Yes, but how? You're willing to fight for strangers. You risk your lives for people you've never met. Smith nodded. And what does that make us? Rex looked around at the human soldiers helping his people. It makes you heroes? Or monsters, depending on who you ask. Smith's expression was serious. Captain, the galaxy is about to divide into two groups. Those who think might makes right and those who believe in protecting the innocent. The question is, which side will your people choose? Before Rex could answer, another officer approached. Admiral, priority message from Earth Command. Smith read the message and his face grew grim. Captain, it seems other empires have been watching what happened here. 3 more systems have sent distress calls. They're all being attacked by different aggressive species. Rex felt his heart sink. Will you help them too? Admiral Smith looked up at the stars. Captain, humans have another saying. Evil wins, when good people do nothing. We've been doing nothing for 50 years, watching this galaxy tear itself apart. He turned to face Rex directly. But that ends now. We're going to give every bully, every tyrant, every empire that thinks they can prey on the weak a choice. Change your ways, or face the consequences. And if they choose to fight? The humans' smile was cold as space. Then they'll learn why the Vex surrendered. The New Order, 770 words. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Nira, and the galaxy was no longer the same place. Captain Rex sat in his new office on the rebuilt space station orbiting his homeworld, reading reports that would have been impossible to imagine before the humans arrived. The Vex Empire had surrendered completely after 3 more encounters with human fleets. They were now working to pay back the worlds they had destroyed, under human supervision. The Krell Dominion had disbanded their slave markets after a single human diplomat visited their capital, with footage of what happened to the Vex. The savage clans had stopped their raiding entirely, but the most shocking change was in the civilized species themselves. Captain, his aide Tom, entered the office. The Federation Council is requesting another meeting with our human liaisons. Rex shook his head. That's the 3rd time this month. What do they want now? Same as always, sir. They want to know how they can contribute to the new peacekeeping efforts. It was amazing how quickly things had changed. The same Federation that had ignored Nira's desperate calls for help was now eager to support human-led peace missions. The Alliance had offered to contribute ships and supplies. Even the trade union was funding refugee relief efforts. Sir, Tom continued, there's also a message from Admiral Smith. The humans are establishing a new base in the Outer Rim to respond to distress calls more quickly. Rex walked to his window and looked out at the busy space around Nira. Ships from dozens of species came and went freely, conducting trade and sharing knowledge. It was what the galaxy was supposed to be like, but had never achieved until now. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. The image of Admiral Smith appeared in Rex's office, though the human looked different now. He wore a simple uniform without military decorations and seemed more relaxed. Captain Rex, how are the reconstruction efforts going? Better than we ever hoped, Admiral. The new trade agreements are bringing prosperity we haven't seen in generations. But I have to ask, how do humans manage it all? You're responding to conflicts across the galaxy, mediating disputes, protecting shipping lanes. Don't your people get tired? Smith smiled. Rex, remember what I told you about humans being survivors? We survive by working together. Every human colony contributes to the fleet. Every human world trains soldiers and diplomats. We've built our entire civilization around the idea that we're responsible for each other. And now you're extending that responsibility to the entire galaxy? Someone has to, Smith replied. For too long, this galaxy has operated on the idea that problems are someone else's concern. Genocide happens on distant worlds while civilized species debate trade policies. Well, humans don't debate when people are dying. Rex had learned this about humans over the past months. They were shockingly direct when it came to moral issues. If something was wrong, they fixed it. If someone was hurting innocent people, they stopped them. It was simple in a way that confused other species. Admiral, I've been wondering something. Your people could easily conquer this entire galaxy. Your technology is superior. Your military is unmatched. Why don't you? Smith's expression grew serious. Because that's not who we are, Rex. Humans have seen what happens when good people become conquerors. We've fought against empires on our own world that started with good intentions. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So what's your plan for the future? To make ourselves unnecessary, Smith said simply. We're training other species to defend themselves. We're sharing defensive technologies. We're helping to build alliances based on mutual protection rather than trade interests. Our goal is to create a galaxy where species like the Vex can't exist, because everyone will stand together against them. Rex felt a wave of admiration for these strange creatures. And if that doesn't work, then we'll be here, watching and waiting. Humans are very good at both. As the transmission ended, Rex reflected on how much had changed. His people were no longer afraid. Children played and rebuilt cities while their parents worked to make their world better than it had ever been. The same was happening on dozens of other worlds that had been saved by human intervention. But perhaps the biggest change was in the civilized species themselves. The Federation had created new rapid response protocols. The Alliance had formed joint defense fleets. The trade union was funding peacekeeping efforts. It was as if the galaxy had finally remembered what it meant to be civilized. Rex smiled as he watched a group of human and Neuron children playing together in the station's garden. They didn't see differences in species or cultures. They just saw friends. Maybe that was the real gift humans had brought to the galaxy, not just the strength to fight monsters, but the courage to believe that a better world was possible. In the distance, human ships continued their patrols, watching over a galaxy that was slowly learning to watch over itself. The age of standing by while evil triumphed was over. The age of humanity had begun. The end.